24 months ago, you was still seeing AI marketing, which was closer to, hey, smarter planets and curing disease and the city of the future, these big abstract notions for what AI would do one day. Gave an opportunity for experimentation, but it didn't give you a path to something that was tangible.
Customer experience wisdom, a dash of travel talk. We've been cleared for takeoff. Welcome to today's CX Passport. Today we are chatting with Jasen Williams, the Global Vice President of Corporate Marketing at Verint, the sponsor for today's episode. Jasen's been with Verint for about 7 years, guiding them through these transformations as they build on their workforce engagement and optimization experience to become leaders in customer experience automation. With 2 decades in capital management and B2B sectors, Jasen brings this seasoned perspective to marketing. His role at Verint isn't just about leadership. It's about managing a team of storytellers who craft narratives that resonate across industries. Did you catch that word? I'll say it again, storytellers. Story is a big part of Jasen's approach. He isn't just about the corporate life. Known about his dedication to mentoring up-and-coming professionals, he's an advocate for that same power of storytelling in both your personal and professional growth. Jasen comes to us today from Georgia. Now, not Georgia the country, but the state of Georgia in the U.S. A devoted bulldog, Jasen and I will do everything we can not to get into college football talk, but you never know. It might sneak in there from time to time. Today, I'm looking forward to diving into how Jasen helped position Verint through its evolution and the lessons he's picked up from decades in this space. Let's get into those intersections of marketing, storytelling, and technology with Jasen. Jasen, welcome to CX Passport.
Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the introduction. That was great.
Yeah, and I hope Georgia is treating you well today. I do promise we won't do college football talk. It helps that we're in the off season right now. So we'll just jump into storytelling because I think that's one of the things that really intrigued me when you and I were first getting to know each other, this idea of storytelling. We hear about it so often in business, especially in the customer space. This isn't, though, just a recent trend for you. It's been a part of your approach throughout your entire career. So given all the energy in B2B tech right now, why is storytelling even more important today?
It's a great question. So I had a mentor tell me early on, he said, if the winner is whoever tells the highest resolution picture of what success looks like. Whoever paints that picture, probably going to win. And if you look at like the way things have evolved, we're so far past, particularly in B2B software, B2B tech, past speeds and feeds, even how it works and what does it do. We're into outcomes. We're into, I have a problem, you have a problem. And let me talk to you about how I can help you address that in very specific ways. Not platitudes, not hype around, AI is going to solve all your problems. It's more about like what can be done right now, not 2 years from now, but right now. And I think a lot of our story is very much around that model. It's like, how are we helping people already? How can we help somebody like you in very clear terms?
You said something that, well, actually, there's a couple things that I want to pull at later. I want to pull at that AI. I want to pull at that time frame that you're describing. But something else you said in there, without saying the words, it sounds like it's about the outcomes, not the features. How does story help you craft a narrative around the outcomes rather than just a list of benefits? Whether that's your career, whether that's the product, whatever it is, we could talk in benefits, but people care about outcomes. How does story help that?
Yeah, like there's an end goal in mind. Whether it's I need to improve my containment rate. I need to provide work-life balance for my employees. I need to accelerate my time to market. Whatever the thing is that's your burning platform, that's your critical issue. Like, how do I align what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to sell, what I'm trying to market to your pain? And for us, in areas like workforce management, we're looking at ways we can address this problem that every contact center has, which is managing work-life balance. And
Mm,
how do you provide flexibility to the employees? How do you break through with something that's never before possible? And then we explain what better looks like. How do you give somebody the ability to go from changing their schedule once a month to changing 3 or 4 times a day? Like, once you start to get somebody's attention with something they weren't expecting, the unexpected, uh, it opens the door for a different kind of conversation, and you can tell your story.
I like that. I like that phrase there, catching them with the unexpected as well. In this, you've actually seen quite a lot of, I guess, just different approaches to customer experience. You've seen it in your past. You've seen it as Verint has made its move into customer experience automation. I know that when I've been in conversations, it seems to be more binary than it should be. Many view either customer experience initiatives as this path to lower cost or improved experience, but never the twain shall meet, right? Doing both was out of the question. How have you seen AI change that paradigm of either or?
Yeah, I think you're asking the right question. It was people historically, and certainly in my career, and especially true among large organizations, when they need to pull cost out of the business, they did so by bringing service personnel headcount out of the business, and
Mm,
predictably, service levels deteriorate. And then of course
mm,
correct that problem by throwing more people at your service problems, your customer experience challenges, and costs explode. There's this pendulum that just keeps swinging wildly back and forth, particularly in a lot of organizations that there's no middle ground on a consistent basis. What we're doing, and what AI is making possible today for the first time really, is the ability to address both the top line and the bottom line, the driving this customer experience forward and cutting costs out of the business, because we're delivering on CX automation, the ability to do these two things simultaneously. If you present AI not as a replacement of people, but as an augmenting of the workforce, and you're giving them tools to respond faster, to scale both the employee, the manager, the analysts that are supporting the C-suite, and you're giving the consumer the ability to put their hands on self-service capabilities that are much more frictionless than are avoiding some of the conversations to start with the contact center. You're starting to see these things come together, and they're not these transformational projects which everyone was focused on, particularly pre-COVID. These 2 3 year projects. These are things that
mm.
can be done now, and seeing results in 30, 60, 90 days. That's the difference in today versus a couple of years ago. As AI's matured,
Yeah.
people can do this do these two things that were always in conflict simultaneously.
This is your captain speaking. I want to thank you for listening to CX Passport today. We've now reached our cruising altitude, so I'll turn that seatbelt sign off. While you're getting comfortable, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Love it if you'd tell a friend about CX Passport, leave a review so others can discover the show as well. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Glad to hear that both are available. Where my brain is somewhat going here is that a statement like that, and I know in our conversations, I know there's some real meat behind that. Like there's actually reality between, no, look, if you don't just approach AI as a cost cutting tool, and I think a lot of it's the mentality that I'm walking into this conversation not just saying I want AI so that I can reduce costs, but rather I want I want to solve a challenge, and AI is the tool to be able to do that. And it seems like the conversation has been so heavily, I want AI. I need AI. It's such a classic example of the hype cycle that it's this idea of it's a word, it's a phrase, it's out there, and I need it now. I don't even know what I need it for. I just want it. And usually by now, with a new idea, that hype cycle has faded, but we're still seemingly, it feels like, just in the meat still of that AI as hype. How are you balancing that hype versus the reality of what it can do? How are you kind of segmenting, maybe even for your clients? Hey, look, this is what you're hearing. This is the actual reality of what this can do for you.
Yeah, that's the hype is so different now than even 24 months ago. 24 months ago, you was still seeing like AI marketing, which was a little closer to smarter planets and curing disease and the city of the future. These big abstract notions for what AI would do one day, and it gave an opportunity for experimentation, but it didn't give you a path to something that was tangible. What Verint's doing is, I think that's a pretty big differentiator, is we're focused heavily on tangible and pragmatic return on investment that you can get from using our AI. The way we package and the way we deliver AI is through a series of specialized bots with 40 plus bots, right? Each one of these things, each one of the bots does a very specific thing extremely well with a very specific ROI associated with it, whether it's wrap up or scheduling or coaching or quality related. And when you break it down to these more tangible and pragmatic are not sexy marketing words. They're unexpected. And what they're doing is they're giving us an opportunity to say, look, consistently, we're seeing wrap up capabilities at the end of a call with a contact center agent, taking 30 seconds out of every one of those conversations. Okay, right. That's a very specific measurable ROI. You can look and you see, well, that worked on my group of agents that I started with. That worked in under 120 days. I'm ready to go even faster. Like those are the kinds of conversations that are very different than the old model, which was, first thing you should do is if you're going to work with a vendor, is you need to rip and replace everything you've got in your contact center. And then in 18 to 24 months, even though we both know that the AI market's going to have changed dramatically, we're going to be in a different place. And that's not the model. If you want to go down that path to change everything out, we can help you with that, and that's great. But we can also put you in a position, whether you're on cloud, you're on prem, to be able to move incrementally with a tangible something specific. So that I think that's the breakthrough for the hype question.
Yeah, and that I chuckle, and those that were watching saw the grin, and those that are listening hopefully heard some chuckles throughout. In that, you're right. 18 to 24 months ago, I mean, I'm amazed that climate change hasn't been solved based off of what we were hearing 18 to 24 months ago, right? There'd be world peace, and everybody would just be sipping their drinks while the robots did it all for us. So those practical examples that you're talking about there, agent assist, note taking, wrap up, all of that goes back to even that conversation that we just had about, hey, you can have a better experience and cost cutting. Because take that, if you're able to extract 30 seconds from an agent's time, well, then that makes more agents available to be on call, actually being able to take that call, which guess what? Reduces the amount of time that a customer has to wait. So not only did I save my cost, I improved my customer experience. That actually can happen. I want to take that, though, and go a little bit into the human and tech space a little bit. Because one of the things that AI does make many somewhat anxious about is that we're over-indexing on technology. We're over-indexing on digital. There is that threat of, have we abandoned the humanity in our customer experience? And at least for now, customers are primarily human, although we know we have robot customers as well. How should we balance that human and technology when we're looking for these customer experience improvements and create that tangible business result that we were talking about?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of areas that are very human in our approach. One is looking at the work-life balance question, employee engagement. It's fascinating that the idea that bots are one of their primary use cases for where we're seeing a lot of immediate ROI is in employee engagement and work-life balance. The idea that you could move from there's no point in me requesting time off today to go to my kid's spelling bee or to take 15 minutes and go walk my dog while I'm working at home because my supervisor is never going to say yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what if you had unlimited scheduling shift swap capabilities, not shift swap, shift change capabilities, schedule change
Mhm.
capabilities, without any human having to intervene, that didn't create chaos and enhance the schedule? Like that's new. That's not something that
Yeah.
was never available before, and it's addressing a very real, very employee engagement kind of problem. There's some of the investment is going into that, and then there's
Mhm.
other things where you're seeing a lot of AI helping with coaching. Whether it's coaching with an
Right.
individual interaction, like, hey, you're talking over this guy, this is not going to end well, or you're this person is becoming increasingly frustrated and they're high value. You need to pause and offer them save credit. There's those kinds of moments. There's also just the idea that people want to do a better job. Like they don't want their time wasted. Well, we know the customer feels that way, but the agent does too. The agent doesn't want to look around, toggling through
Yeah.
a lot of different apps to find their answers. Like bring the answer forward to them. So it's a lot of work on for us in the contact center is agent experience, on the day to day, the emotional side of employee engagement, employee experience is big. So AI is doing more than just saying, okay, here's a function and it needs to happen 25, 40, 70% faster. That's all given that it has to happen. So we're working on the other areas as well.
Jasen, I'm really intrigued by one of the solutions that you said there. That is, and I actually was never a contact center agent, but I was working in a retail store. And even at the retail store level, what kind of a pain level there was associated with just simple shift changes, not just for me, the employee, but the manager having to deal with it. And so your idea of this real time in the moment, and the manager the team lead doesn't have to burden themselves with it. They can actually it just happens, and there is enough capability on the phones at the contacts at the time they need them. That's this is the first time that I've heard of that use case, and I'm particularly intrigued by it. And I'm a little bit, my synapses have frozen a bit. And you know what happens when you get frozen like that? You need to take a little break. And so I'm going to encourage us to stop down right now. Let's go into the first class lounge. Let's have a little bit of fun here, move a little quickly, but we're going to have some fun as well. What is a dream travel location from your past?
From my past, I would love to go back to South Africa. I went with pre-kids, and
Yeah.
my kids are pretty small. They're almost old enough to go and remember and really enjoy it, but seeing lions and the spectacle of South Africa and Cape Town or Kruger, all that stuff I would love to go again. And that was pretty spectacular.
I've heard nothing but great things about it. I actually have a brother-in-law who just got back from a work trip into South Africa, and I've certainly with CX Passport, there's been a lot of BPOs on the show, and a lot of the BPOs are out of South Africa. And now I know places and specific food items that I need to go there. So I haven't been there, but I can see why it's a dream travel location from your past. What about going forward? What's a dream travel location you've not been to yet?
I haven't been to Greece. I would love to go to Greece. I feel like I would. I'm intrigued by the spectacle, the history, and everything else. Plus, I think I would enjoy fishing there. But my kids are reading the Percy Jackson books,
Yeah.
and all the mythology is just really hitting with them. And it would absolutely be up their alley. So I think as a family, I would love to go to Greece.
I like the fact that it would be your kids that are bringing that dream travel location into sort of the present, the desire because of what they're reading, what they're consuming. I have a bit of a more selfish reason to go to Greece. I think it looks pretty and I like food. And so those two, but the Percy Jackson as a gateway into desiring Greece is that's a lot of fun. Well, let's stay in food. What is a favorite thing of yours to eat?
Oh, I love sushi. I love sushi and I love barbecue. We were joking about this the other night. There's the two things that are the most opposite. Sushi, we're going to serve it completely raw, and barbecue, let's smoke this for half a day. You know, like you couldn't have two more opposite things. Those are my two favorites.
I hope that there's some universe where you have actually opened up a pig picking and sashimi restaurant and somehow combined both of those loves together. I'm just thinking about what that restaurant style would be. Let's go the other direction. What is something growing up you were forced to eat but you hated as a kid?
Oh, those little green English peas. I just
Ah,
think they're repugnant. But my wife eats them. My kids are still pretty skeptical, but I have no. Still, as an adult, couldn't do it.
I love that. And I love the visceral reaction that I get with that question. Although I love those little peas. So it just shows how tastes are so different. Now, this is sadly, it means that we're about to exit the lounge, but I do want to know, what is one travel item, not including your phone, not including your passport, that you will not leave home without?
The honest answer is chargers, but I was thinking about that, and there's an app I love, Fishing Booker, which allows you. It's like Open Table for fishing. So you can go somewhere you've never been before and get hooked up with a captain when you don't know what you're doing, and go out and have a good time with your buddies or with your kids. So that was that's pretty awesome. That's something a little additive for vacation that I love very much.
CX Passport listeners and viewers, I'm going to get the link to that app there because I have not heard that one, Jasen. Tell me the app name again.
Fishing Booker.
Fishing Booker. And it books like fishing holes, captains' boats.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
it
a captain, and it's incredible. The
That's awesome.
you pick anywhere, and if long as there's a pier or marina, there's probably a guy on there that'll pick you up from there and take you fishing.
That is brilliant. You know, that's one of those examples. We were talking about the human and technology aspect before we went into the first class lounge. And that's one of those examples where the digital aspect actually becomes something that a customer really thrives and seeks out, right? You're, instead of wandering around several marinas hoping that you can find someone, you've got your app. You're ready to engage with the app. And that's where that digitization actually creates that. It kind of creates it perhaps even more humanly than walking around painfully trying to find that booking. My example in that case is always booking restaurant reservations. When the last time we got a call for that, right?
Yep.
Right. Exactly. I want to get tactical.
Go.
And I want to do it with something you said earlier. And it was this idea of a lot of companies will have this vision of, I'm hoping that I can do AI or technology and do it and see the benefits in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I might be coming into the conversation. How can I accelerate that? How can I actually get into this in not 1 to 2 years away, but get into this space right now if I'm that company?
For us, we've architected the AI capabilities, all of our specialized bots, to work on-prem or in the cloud. And in most cases, regardless of whether or not you're using all of your stuff or some of your stuff, even some of your stuff from Verint, it works with a lot of other people's software, just depending on the various use cases. So number one, being able to say, I've got capabilities. If I'm a user, if I've got capabilities that I love, and we look at that user that and say, you're wonderful the way you are. Mm-hmm. But over here is the specific thing you want to improve, and we've got a bot for that, and you can add it to your existing infrastructure, and you're going to be up and running in whether it's 30 days or 120 days, somewhere in that time frame, and that is the ability to say, okay, I don't have to change out my telephony. I can keep my ACD where it is, and I can still bring in a lot of new AI into my shop. I don't have to move my workforce management, and I can get this schedule flexibility that we were talking about earlier. All of that's like very attention getting, very in a lot of ways surprising. We were our CEO was meeting with a very well known online retailer. And at kind of the end of the meeting, there was two things that happened. One was, hey, it was good to hear, how you can help us enhance our data story, our data infrastructure, our data ecosystem. And you've got some AI and some bots that we would very much like to bring into our contact center. That's all great. But the other thing, as he gestured to his team, was that my guys said this was 2 years away. He said, so I have a separate meeting that we're going to have after you leave, like that says, hey, look, we can get going right now. And that is very unique. Getting be able to get going right now. AI business outcomes now is what we're all about.
So one, I smile because I talked about storytelling at the beginning, right? And that there you are sharing a story, and it caught my eye there. I want to talk about what you just said. It's related to that the head swivel of, well, you told me it was 2 years, and now we're going to get this done now. There's a lot more that goes into that than just the technology of that, right? There's buy-in, there's change management. Companies are, by their nature, they're a collection of organizations. They're a collection of teams. They're a collection of, humans, and humans are kind of messy. We all have our own perspective. Yeah. So a great idea to team A may not be a great idea to team B. How, and maybe even stories, what have you seen really help influence getting the buy-in for these ideas, these initiatives, to go from a 2-year idea to we're doing it now?
Because there's a lot less friction of the idea of getting started now without having to rip and replace anything that's working, like for the brand. We're able to say, look, if you want to get started with just the contact center, let's say in El Paso, or the contact center that works on product X, or the group that is just in the Netherlands, we can take a subset of the employees and get started and show immediate results. That's not a proof of concept. It's not like a pilot. It's more of a working model that's immediately going with a tangible, specific ROI that you're able to look at and see, okay, this did or didn't work. If it did, which it's going to, let's go bigger. And we'll add another division or a department or a product line or a whatever, and dramatically accelerate like adoption within an organization. That is pulling both any. You don't have the technical risk because you didn't swap anything out to get started. You don't have to rip and replace anything, but you're also pulling the risk out that you're not making a wholesale change. You don't have to. So that has resonates very well for us.
What about, so I can see that working for the decision makers, the leaders, team leads, executives, that sort of thing. What about at the employee level? Because especially when we're talking about technology, and then even more so because of the way AI has been discussed as such a cost-cutting measure, how have you helped, or where have you, let me say it differently, how have you seen it be successful at the employee level when we're talking about change like we're describing here?
There's a couple of examples, and the time flex scheduling capability we talked about earlier is the most obvious. I mean,
I'd buy in right away on that, wouldn't I? If I were an agent,
to go from, like I said, go from one change a month per employee to, and I think in one case, the company went to 5 a day. The employees get it immediately. There are other things. A lot of what AI will take care of are the things that you do not like about your job. No agent likes to do call summarization. No one will do that.
Right.
That's automated. That's easy to get buy-in on. Coaching, when it's done appropriately and not in some kind of heavy-handed a manner, people are receptive to, I could have done this better, and here's exactly what I could do, and let me go sign up for a course that would make it, when it's appropriate for me to take it, to improve in this area. Like, there's a lot of those kinds of moments. It's augmenting the person. It's not it's not saying I don't need you anymore. It's saying this is the things you didn't want to do to begin with are now done much easier.
And you know what? I think I want to end there, because that is a mentality shift and almost a communication shift that I think companies need to have when they're thinking about why is it that I want to do a technology? Why is it that I want to automate? Why is it that I want to use the ubiquitous term AI? And it's that idea of, okay, well, what are the pain points that are being relieved? And is this the right tool for it? And when you're talking about coaching, my gosh, I can absolutely see agents saying, great, now there's going to be a technology that listens to all of my calls, because how many agents have a reasonable disagreement with, well, yeah, okay, you chose the one call that was the worst that I've ever been. And that's what you're coaching me on.
Yeah.
Whereas my suite of behaviors represent something totally differently, and technology can help certainly overcome that. Yeah, Jasen, I've learned a lot today. I've appreciated kind of the walk through how we've come to understand the difference between human and technology and hype versus reality, and get it in now. And I imagine others might want to know a little bit more about you, your approach to customer experience, and more about Verint in general as well. What is the best way for folks to get to know more about you and Verint?
For Verint, we're easy to find at verint.com. We've showcasing a lot of our bot capabilities there, as well as the applications that we bring to market. For me, luckily, with the unusual spelling of my name, I'm extremely easy to find on LinkedIn. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of me, would be just searching Jasen Williams on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to find with the spelling.
Very good. And listeners, I will get all of that into the show notes there. So absolutely, you can find Jasen's LinkedIn profile. You'll certainly be able to find the Verint website as well. And I do want to thank Verint again for their generous sponsorship of the episode today. It is a delight partnering and co-creating with y'all. Jasen, this was a enjoyable and informative conversation for me today. I enjoyed it, and I thank you for that. So Jasen, thank you for being on CX Passport.
Thank you so much, Rick, and have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thanks for joining us this week on CX Passport. If you like today's episode, I have 3 quick next steps for you. Click subscribe on the CX Passport YouTube channel or your favorite podcast app. Next, leave a comment below the video or a review in your favorite podcast app so others can find and enjoy CX Passport too. Then head over to cxpassport.com for show notes and resources that can help you create tangible business results by delivering great customer experience. Until next time, I'm Rick Denton, and I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport.